Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Lawsuits and Lessons. We're coming here every other week, getting some great entrepreneurs coming on, getting some legal advice at times, just talking about life. And I'm Steve Cooper, and I want to introduce the host, the man about town, always looking dapper, always with good glasses, Mr. John Fagerholm.
What's up, Steve? Everything's good. And part of the introduction, you said you might get some legal advice. So I just want to say I'm not giving legal advice. I might say some things legal, but unless you pay me, I'm not your lawyer, so it's not legal advice. But anyway, everything is good.
What if I called you and needed legal advice? Would I have to pay you, or do I have to put you on retainer? Or
I would do it pro bono.
I have to find a personal injury lawyer for a friend of mine who got in an accident where an ambulance almost hit him on head on, and there's like 5 cars. And I got to find someone good in South Jersey, because that would be probably a big settlement when an ambulance almost hits you and it's their fault. I mean, that's what we're talking about.
I always hear that Morgan & Morgan is good and they're national, and I have nothing to do with them, so I'm not plugging them or anything, but my understanding is that they're very good. So it might just be easy for him to call Morgan & Morgan.
Talking about guys, we have one of your buddies on, which I'm going to have one of my friends on in probably 2 weeks. Pretty big guest. So, we'll get to let you talk. You get to meet some of my friends, but we have a friend of yours who, all your friends are very interesting. And I looked up, his Airbnb stuff and his Instagram, and very interesting guy. And I love when it comes to food, because I love to eat, even though you can't tell because I'm so svelte and in shape. But John, tell us about our guest tonight.
Yeah, our guest tonight is my good friend, Dweh. We've known each other probably, going on 12 years or so. And we just met at a bar, restaurant that a friend of mine owns. And my friend knew the both of us. And then we just hit it off. And we spent a lot of great times hanging out. One of my favorite times was right the first New Year's Eve after my divorce. I went out with Dweh, and it's one of the most memorable nights that I've had. And he's when I met him, he was a salesman at, I think it was one of the phone stores. I don't remember off the top of my head, but since then he's got into a bunch of entrepreneurial endeavors and done well for himself, and has run for office a couple times. Once he ran for LA city mayor, and then I think city councilman in Nevada. But great guy. We always have these long political talks. We debate each other, but we always call each other about business things also. So let me introduce my great friend, Dweh Toeque.
Hello, everybody.
Let's talk about when we first met. You were working, was it T-Mobile?
Yeah, so when we first met, I was actually a chef when we first met. So I was working for an agency, and they would put me at different locations, and then finished culinary school. I did culinary and I also did pastry. So I kind of got both worlds of the spectrum when it comes to cooking. And then I started doing some staging all throughout LA. I worked at Patina. I worked at the London. I worked for Wolfgang. I worked for a lot of great chefs. I got a really good, well-rounded experience in that world. And then I kind of got burned out, and I was like, you know what? I want to get into something a little different, because I always liked technology, but I didn't really know how to get into tech. So I ended up working at T-Mobile, and I got to really learn how these devices that we all are using now, even me, we're talking to each other on our devices, and I didn't know what that world was. So kind of diving into that and having years of experience, I was able to really grow in that company. And then I ended up moving to Las Vegas with the help of you. You actually connected me with this guy, because I had an idea that I wanted to launch, and you connected me with him, and it kind of gave me the runway to then move to Vegas and then kind of really get more into tech. COVID came, and then everything kind of shut down, and I was like, okay, now is my time to really just go hard in the paint with tech. So I actually launched my own social media platform during COVID, and it did so well. So now we're at the point where we're about to sell the business. We're going to exit that this year.
One of the memories I have is, one of the good memories is, it wasn't long after we met, you had some project, you were talking about it, and then I introduced you to a friend in Vegas. And then the next time I talked to you, which was less than a month later, you were living in Vegas. And I was like, what? That's fast. Anyway, that whole relationship, I think it didn't work out in the end, but it culminated into what you were just talking about, which was the platform you're about to sell. Are you able to tell us anything about that, or is it still hush hush?
Can't give away too much information, but I can talk about the platform itself. So the platform is based around free speech, because I noticed during COVID, a lot of people were being restricted of what they can say on Instagram and on Twitter. There was a lot of like people's accounts being banned because it was a very new uh, pandemic that no one knew anything about. So a lot of information was just being spat by a lot of people. So people were just kind of scared and just wanted information. So I said, you know what? I was also scared. I didn't know what was going on. So put a small team together, did a very small raise, and we launched our first version of the application. It was very buggy because, you kind of have to like go through the peaks and valleys of starting a tech business. So through that, we kept refining it and adding more features and getting a lot of feedback from the customers. And we just kept making the product a lot more useful and giving it staying power.
I mean, how do you build that? You have the idea. Do you have to go get tech guys, or do you know enough where you can start it and bring in people to refine it? Because I always wonder how it goes from an idea to something actually on like an app or a social media or on a computer. How do you develop it?
I've had a lot of tech experience over the years. So I actually started playing with technology when I was like 10 years old, like building websites. My parents had the Microsoft suite. So I literally would sit there at 10 years old and just like play with each of the different applications on there so I could see how they actually worked. And through that tinkering, I kind of learned how to go through the process of doing a wireframe on the project. This is what we're going to launch with. And then through that launch, getting feedback from customers and making tweaks to the system so that way it's more user friendly. And then constantly getting feedback from customers and constantly tweaking, and also looking at our competitors and seeing what they're doing. So, hey, we can add this feature as well, since people are used to using that, and just keep refining it over time. And also to add, you did say, Doug, a team. So once I did build to the best of my ability, I did have to bring on a team as the platform grew, as a technical details became more technical, not to use the same word twice. We had to bring on a much bigger team to handle all of the day-to-day.
And how many users did you have to accumulate in order to get someone interested in buying the platform?
With a platform like mine, it's not so much the users, it's a combination of users and the technical ability of the platform. So right now we have close to 200,000 users on the platform, and we're generating between around, I would say, 20,000 people visiting the site on a daily basis. So it's all depends on the day, and we are using that as a gauging point to really get that niche customer, because a lot of stuff that people post, they can easily post Instagram or Twitter, but with our platform you can post things that you typically couldn't post on those platforms and actually monetize it. So that's a draw for a lot of customers that are out there.
When you had this idea, come up with this, and then you're building it, in the back of your mind, were you saying, I'm going to build this and I'm going to sell it? Or did you think you were going to build it and, it's your baby and keep it going? I mean, how does that happen? Did you build it to sell it, or all of a sudden someone comes out of nowhere and goes, oh my God, we love this, we're going to buy it?
I was building this to take it public because I had other ideas with the platform. Our goal was to not just be a platform that's digital. We want to have an actual place that you can come visit and use the platform in this location and earn points and meet people that are using the platform that are really popular. You can meet them in person, talk to them, all those different things, like a experience on the app and in person.
Well, first of all, how many businesses do you currently have?
So right now it's just the X-Eye Bunny and then chefing. That's all I'm doing right now.
Tell us about your chef business.
So with chefing, that started since I was like really young too. Like I was always fascinated with cooking, like how someone could take something that was raw and then just completely change it into something else, like using basically alchemy. So I was always fascinated with that. So I would always watch the Food Network. I was a little kid. I would watch Barefoot Contessa, The Naked Chef, like all those shows that were on Food Network. And I was always just amazed by that. And I would always tinker in the kitchen. The food was horrible when I was making the food. My brothers and sisters were like, this is nasty. Why are you just messing up food? And they would get mad, and I would just keep trying. And, and my mom was like, no, just let them do it. And then eventually, when I left high school, I went to culinary school because I actually started a cookie business called Always Truly Cookies, and I was actually selling the cookies on my streets. I would do consignment. I'll make a batch, and I would find stores, put it in their store, and they would give me money. I'll come at the end of the week to see what they sold and get paid for that. So that was a really cool business that was starting to grow. And then my mom was like, well, if you really want to get good at this, you probably should go take a pastry class so you really understand, how to scale this. So I took the pastry classes. I said, while I'm here, I might as well do culinary. So I did both culinary and pastry at the same time. And that kind of really got me excited about it. And then through all the wisdom that my chefs gave me, they said, the best thing to do it, you want to work at different restaurants for like at least 6 months and really get that skill down. And then just keep adding these skills to your tool belt. So when you finally do decide to go out on your own, you have a really good resume of skills that you can use to, really hone in on your passion. So that's what I essentially did. So I was still cooking. I kind of got burned out from cooking because it was just, the pay was horrible. We getting paid back then in 2007, we're getting paid like $7 an hour, sometimes $10 an hour, and you're working 12-hour days, 14-hour days. So it was like really hard work. And you'll bust your butt, and then you come home, you barely can, take care of yourself. So it was just not good for me mentally. So I was like, I gotta do something else. So I left that. My nephew was the person that kind of got me back into it. So 3 years ago, he contacted me. He said, "Hey, Uncle, can you teach me how to make some food?" And I was like, I was gonna tell him just go on YouTube. I was like, you know what? This is a good opportunity for me to bond with my nephew. So I said, just come over. I'm gonna show you some basic stuff. And I kind of got excited, and then we started working on this burger that he and I developed together. And then I started selling the burger. Well, first I started making burgers for some of our friends. They're like, "This burger's really good. You should really do this." And I was like, I don't know, maybe. And I started doing barbecue. Because barbecue they don't teach in the culinary school. So I started making barbecue. And you even came to one of my barbecue powwows I had at my place.
Yeah. I came to your to one of your afternoon barbecues recently. It was great. The food was delicious.
Oh, appreciate that. So the one thing I was really trying to figure out is smoking. Because smoking, they don't teach that at all in culinary school. So I would literally smoke brisket every week, and I would get a brisket, trim it, smoke it, and just do it over and over. And I would start smoking beef shanks and beef ribs and all these different proteins that are really tough to cook and take a lot of. You have to babysit it for 16 hours sometimes. Every hour you would spray it with your own liquid that would keep it moist, and then you have to wrap it to finish the cook. And then you let it rest for another 24 hours, and it gets to really tender. Fat becomes almost like jello. It's really getting those little intricacies of wood cooking. With me having my French background when it comes to cooking, I was bringing a lot of that into barbecue, even changing how typically people put the barbecue on the raw grill. I never understood why people do that. It just didn't make sense to me. I'm like, that's you putting raw meat on something that's been in the elements for a long period of time. You don't know how clean and dirty it is. And the tools that people use to clean the grill, they weren't really cleaning the grill. You're just moving the dirt around. So I just never understood. So I completely added my French technique into the barbecue process to make the barbecue more clean. So when people eat the barbecue, it tastes very clean. It doesn't taste too dirty sometimes. All that stuff, I really wanted to keep refining it. So then I launched this burger pop-up this past summer, and we sold out every single time we'll do the pop-up. I think I sold close to 400 burgers just that summer, which was pretty astounding for me. So with all that data and all that information, I was like, okay, cool. So now I have a concept that makes sense. We have a barbecue sauce people like. We have a burger that people like. Also, let me tell you what the burger. It's actually a smoked brisket burger that I came up with. So it has caramelized onions on it, American cheese, the actual brisket that's grounded up on a brioche bun with pickles, the best burger.
You're going to have to make me one before you move to Vegas.
So it's funny because burgers, everyone has their opinions on burgers. And, everyone in LA was always raved. When I moved to LA, everyone's raved about In-N-Out. Well, I tell you, the bacon double del at Del Taco beats In-N-Out any day. And you heard it right here. If you live out in the area, go to the Del Taco and get the bacon double del. But I want to ask you, because your burger is brisket, and it's, and that's a really good burger, and you're making a high-end burger. What do you say to that jackass who's been grilling his whole life, going, "Oh, yeah, you're not going to be my 70%, 30% ground beef in the tube. This is what we eat. Oh, no, I don't want that brisket crap." What do you tell him? How do you convince the naysayer who thinks it's a brisket burger, even though it tastes so much better, is too highfalutin? How do you tell someone to say, just try it?
During that summer, I had people like that were like, "Oh, this this is too expensive for this. Like, why is a burger like $20 for a burger? I said, just try it. And once they bit into it, they were like, whoa. Because also, I don't do smash burgers. I do not like smashing a burger and then all that juice is leaving. That didn't make sense to me. So I do a thick patty. It's a 8-ounce patty burger that's smoked for about 2 hours. So you get the nice, beautiful smoke color on there. And then we sear it to get a nice, crispy top and bottom on the burger. So it's juicy on the inside and crispy on the outside. And once they bite into that burger, they're a believer.
What do you think, as someone who's an expert at this, for your burger, what is the best temperature to eat your burger at?
Because it's smoked, it actually keeps that beautiful red color. Just like when you smoked brisket, that's a nice pink color inside. So that way the burger can be fully cooked to the temperature of 160, which is supposed to be to serve to the public. All my burgers are fully cooked, but the color stays red because of the smoking process.
That's awesome. And Dweh, when I met you, you weren't an entrepreneur, meaning that, you were working somewhere, but it doesn't mean that you didn't have an entrepreneur's mindset or that you weren't an entrepreneur previous to that. So Cooper and I have this conversation all the time about whether you're born with it or whether you learn it somewhere. I think that you're born with it, but you can always learn it also. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's both. I think you're definitely born with it in terms of it being in your mind, because it has to start in your mind first. Like, you have ideas or you have something that you want to do, but you don't know where to put it. So if you have a great idea, but you don't know where to put it, which I dealt with that when I was very young. I had all these great ideas, but I didn't know how to refine it. And also, what's the idea that you start with first to get you to the next idea? It's kind of like what Jay-Z said. I'm a big Jay-Z fan. He says, there's a million ways to get it. You got to choose one, make the money stack, and then you go to the next thing. So that's something that I've always, kept in the back of my head. So even with, like, I didn't get into the food thing until I knew X-Night Bunny was kind of running itself. And once I got it up and running, it's making money. And it kind of runs itself, which it does now. Then I was able to pivot over to my food side and start developing that and get that refined to where now, I'm a private chef once again. I have clients that are booking me. I'm going all over the place to cook for them and really get to be artistic with my food again, not just making burgers. Like, I get to like plate food the way I want to and really show them this is how food is supposed to look when it comes to cocooning style. So I really think it's a combination of, it starts in your brain, which is if you're thinking about it, but you also need to get some practical knowledge. I mean, some theory with it as well, so you understand structures and systems, so you don't make mistakes. Because you're still gonna make mistakes, but if you can limit your mistakes with your knowledge of understanding how to structure things, you can really scale your businesses. That starts in your brain.
You've asked me for a lot of advice over the years, and I've asked, people that came before me a lot of advice over the years. So someone that's 20 years your junior, what advice would you give them if they came to you and said, hey, I've got this great idea, I just don't know what to do with it?
I would tell them, before you spend any money, you need to wireframe out your idea, like figure out what it looks like on paper. And then you need to also do some comps analyses. You want to start to look at comparable businesses that are in your market and trying to enter into and see what's missing in that market and try to build your business around solving that problem that a lot of other businesses in that space are not trying to solve. That's what I love to do with any business I like to get into. I like to find that need that I can possibly solve and then just refine it to where it's ready for the market to go live.
With the burger venture, how did you do a business plan? How did you know? Because you were coming with an expensive burger. I saw it's on the Airbnb link that John had given me. I think it was Airbnb. That was the party, the price. How do you get that out there to people? And how do you sit there? I know you said once people taste that burger, they go, oh, I can see why I pay it. But someone looking at it from the outside is going to go, what? I'm not paying for this burger. How did you implement that strategy to get people on board to use your service?
I mean, for the last 10 years prior to starting it, I would eat burgers over and over, trying burger. I still do that. Still, every week I'll go to a different burger place and I'll eat their burger and I'll do review on it and trying to figure out like what makes a burger tasty and what makes it worth this value that I'm putting on it. I would give away burgers for free just to get people's opinions of. People are going to give you an opinion. If it's a free burger, they'll tell you if it's good or not. If you give it to them for free, so getting all that free feedback from people, it kind of helped me figure, okay, I'm going to use this type of cut of meat this type of bread, this type of cheese, and then it's going to justify the price, but also the labor that went into it by smoking the burger. That's something that a lot of people are not doing. It's only like 2 businesses besides mine that actually smoke their burger patties. So having all these different components and also marketing it that way, it justifies the price that you want to put out there for it.
But how do you find your customer base? Because you said you sold the burgers. How do you actually go find them? I mean, because it's just not like something, I'm not sure you don't put it on Craigslist, but how do you find the base? Because that's your idea as an entrepreneur. You want your product to be sold. How are you finding these people? Like you see your price said, party of 20 or party of 50 or whatever the money was. How do you find your customer base?
Well, the cool thing about signing up with Airbnb Experiences, they actually do that for me. So I just set up the system. I went through their long vetting process. It was like 2 months before they had to vet me for 2 months before they allow me in there, and then they do the marketing for me. They have their customer base already rent from them for all the properties, and they just push me out there to those customer base to say, hey, if you're renting one of these properties, you have a chef come out there and cook either burgers free or cook fine dining free.
The first question I ask is, what's your product or what's your service, right? When someone is asking me questions about the things. The second question I always ask, and this is one of the more important questions to me, I think, is, okay, who's your customer? You go through Airbnb, but it doesn't mean that Airbnb is your customer. There's only a certain group of people that are going to pay for what you're offering. So for this particular service, how would you describe your customer? Like, what is your customer?
So my customer is a individual or a group of people that are looking for a once in a lifetime experience that they're going to spend a lot extra for, but they want to make sure that it's of good quality. So that's the kind of people I'm looking for. People that are looking to have some fun, either for a birthday or they're just celebrating. They're already celebrating something. But that's typically the type of customers I've been seeing that's been booking me recently. I have a customer booking me for her birthday on Sunday, and then I have another customer booking me for Valentine's Day, and another person booking me for their anniversary. Those are the kind of people that I've been that's currently booking me for Airbnb currently.
So I know my perfect customer, and I always market to my perfect customer. I say customer, but clients. I market to this perfect client, but then I also get others around that. So my perfect client is basically a middle-aged business owner in California that currently has a lawsuit. That's it, right? And that's exactly what I market to. And then because I market exactly to that person, it also attracts people outside of that specific niche. But that is my perfect customer. Those are the ones that are my bread and butter. That's 80% of my business, 80% of my income. And then the other 20% is, other things that come from that.
That makes sense.
So, okay, we got to the best damn burger. So we're back on presentation. What can they expect besides an amazing burger? Do you show up in a chef's outfit? Do you have a special plates? You said how you plate them. Do you have a special plating, or how do you add to the experience?
Yeah, so I come fully decked out in my chef gear. I have a live grill there. I actually wrap each burger for them. I have these nice plates with the tater tots right next to the burger. I'm just making the burgers as we go. I'm chatting with the people, making it a nice, fun environment.
Why tots? It's funny. Tots, like when I was little, tots were popular. The cafeteria, you get them. And then like tots disappeared. And someone all of a sudden brought tots back now. And there's tots everywhere. You see Sonic, like, oh, get your tots. Why do you choose tots? Are they easier than French fries, or is just everyone likes tots and French fries? You go, well, I want waffle fry. I want curly fry. I want steak fry. Why'd you pick the tots?
It's the crunch factor. So it's like 5 things you want to look for. You want to look for heat, crunch, salt, sweet, and savory. So you want to have those 5 things always happen with your food. So the tots definitely hit you with that crunch, and they really are really craggly. So all the nooks and crannies when you're dipping the tots in the sauce is just a much better mouthfeel for you.
You're doing the chef stuff. XI Bunny, that's the technology platform. You and I were talking earlier today, and we were talking about robotics and AI. And I just read something about Tesla, and they're saying in 10 years, people are going to forget that Tesla was a car company because they're making so many robots right now. So there's a factory in Northern California, Fullerton. I can't remember what city it is. But that whole Tesla factory is now robots, right? So you and I were kind of talking about it. So what are your overall general thoughts about AI and robots? And just really quickly before you answer, the robot stuff is interesting because from the article that I read, all the robot technology has been around for about 20 years. They just didn't have the brain to put into those robots to make them do anything. So now they have these brains and they have all of these robot parts. It's like this marriage perfect storm type of scenario where they think within 3-4 years, you're just going to be seeing robots everywhere.
I like the idea of our society moving that direction because I'm really big on UBI, and I'm really big on us even reenacting the Second Bill of Rights. So for that to come into fruition, we need to phase out a lot of jobs that humans are doing, and we need to phase in a lot of robots taking up those jobs, and then we would need to then levy a tax on these companies that are doing these things, so that way we can actually fund the UBI programs and even fund the Second Bill of Rights.
Well, you're getting into the politics of it. I mean, we can do that too if you guys want. But I was thinking more about your thoughts overall on where technology is going, and is it going to be useful? Is it going to be bad? Is it going to obviously there's going to be repercussions in anything, right? So when we had the Industrial Revolution, suddenly nobody worked farms anymore, right? So there definitely is going to be a change, and even with autonomous cars, autonomous taxis, autonomous trucks, all that, the largest job base in the world is drivers. In the world, not the United States, but in the world. And that looks like it's about to go away 100%. I don't know that to be true, but I'm seeing autonomous cars everywhere. Now the Waymos, every morning I just see Waymos everywhere. I don't even know what's going on. Yeah. So what are your thoughts just on the technology itself and how it's being implemented in society before we even get into the politics of it?
I love it. I mean, the car I drive can be autonomous when I need it to be. So, I mean, it's helped me sometimes where one time I was hanging out and I was really tired and realized how tired I was, and the car took me home, and and it was really convenient.
You know what's funny about technology? Just the little things. Like I recently upgraded to Alexa Plus. Okay. And just know this is no lie. And now you just have to say, Alexa, what's the weather? And I go, oh, it's such. But now it's got a friendlier voice. And I was like, hey, Alexa, what's the weather? It says it. And I go, okay, well, you have a good day. And they'll be like, you too. And I'll go, yeah, I'm going to listen to some, and you don't have to say Alexa. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to listen to some new order. And she's like, oh, well, new order. And she does this whole thing with it. So now I find myself having a conversation with the damn Alexa, and my wife, Joanne's in the other room going, who are you talking to? And I'm like, Alexa. And she's like, why? I go, because she's damn interesting. And that's just a little thing of technology. And that was just, everyone had the Alexa on the whatever that thing's called. And now through that one little step. So if that's, as you were saying, John, when it gets so much more with these robots, it's going to be completely crazy. It's going to be like when the Jetsons had the maid who went and swept stuff up, Rosie the maid.
Remember that episode where I can't remember what Mrs. Jetson's name was, but she was fatigued from doing housework and it was just her finger?
Well, real quick, John, what do you think about it? Do you think it's going to be a hindrance? Because a lot of people worry that with robots, we're still going to have drivers. I like when people say AI is going to take over Hollywood. No, there's not going to be AI movies. There might be, but it's not going to happen. And the screenwriting will always be the creative person. But what do you think about it?
I think AI can take the place of Hollywood, and I think that it's not going to be as good because there's something about, the creativity, the creative process and all of that. And I like it as a tool, but I don't like it as a replacement. So what you were saying, Steve, about it taking over Hollywood, just for shits and giggles, while you and I were on the phone, Dweh, and talking about socialism and politics and all the stuff we were talking about, I was looking out on my deck and there's a picture of a bull that's on my deck. It's just like a regular nice looking bull. So after the call, I was like, draft me a children's story called Raoul the Cool Bull and make it about friendship. And I did all these different things, and it wrote the whole thing. And then I said, change this, change that, change that. And then I said, now create a children's book for me. And it gave it to me with pages and illustration. Now it's not perfect, but that was like a 10-minute thing that I did, right? So now if I wanted to make it perfect, let's say it takes me 8 hours. So what? How long would that book and illustration would have taken in the old days, right? So I think there's going to be a lot more content. I don't know that it's going to be as good. Maybe it is going to be as good, but there's just going to be just content everywhere. It's going to be like how we are now with products, right? So I break this product or something, and I go, oh, and I just order another one. I don't even think about it. Whereas I look at my grandmother when I was a kid, there was no plastic around. There was nothing. Like everything was crates and jars and tin cans, and so.
But let me interrupt you real quick, John, because I am working on a kid's book, and I'm not lying. I am working on a kid's book, and I did some research on it because, first of all, when you pitch a kid's book, you just pitch the story because most of the publishers already have their animator. But I looked into that about AI developing it, and the problem is it says you're very liable to lawsuits because AI pulls stuff from everyone. So when they pull the picture, they could be pulling something that is copyrighted, just a leg out of something and putting it together. And I think that's where the problems in them. For lawyers, it's going to be great because for like copyright lawyers, because there's going to be those arguments, well, so that's the thing where they're pulling from other things. AI just isn't going, hey, we're going to do this. They're pulling from this vast knowledge.
But also, because I actually dabble in AI, so you also can get your own AI system and train it on what you've created. That way it's only your stuff and it's a closed loop and you're not pulling from other people's information.
And I'm sure it's going to be like photos at some point where people license it and you can just pull it, right? So I can take stock photos from anywhere, right? So there's probably going to be a place that has stock everything. And then you just say,
What was the title of the book about the bull?
It was called Raoul the Cool Bull.
All right, well, that's good title, Raoul the Cool Bull.
It's just a story about a cool bull on a ranch, and the other bull doesn't like him, and just it's a story about heroism and friendship and doing the right thing or doing the hard thing and having courage to do the hard thing.
It's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer as a bull.
Yeah, safe harbor, right?
Now, Dweh, now that you have your company, you're going to be selling, you have the burger company, is your mind already, because John and me talk about the entrepreneur, how their mind's always going. Is your mind already focusing on another project you want to do? Or right now, are you really going to go mostly hands in on the burger business?
Mine is always moving. It's never stagnant. But one thing I always do whenever I get to a certain checkpoint, I always want to lean into like intellect. So I'm actually going to be going back to university to get my degree. Well, actually 3 degrees. I'm going to be working on getting a certification in prompt engineering. I'm also going to be working on getting my my certification in financial analysis, and I'm also going to be getting my master's degree in public policy.
Dweh really loves his politics.
Because I grew up poor. So basically when a city council or the mayors are not properly funding certain neighborhoods, it can really start to, hurt that neighborhood. So being a kid, I didn't know why it was happening. And then kind of going through the process, running for mayor, running for city council, I got to see more of what a lot of people don't really know what's going on because they're living their life dealing with stuff on database. They don't really take the time to figure out why is this happening to me on a government level, not just with, their personal responsibilities. There's other things that happen to you that you don't even know is happening to you. So when I went through that process, I said, okay, this last time I ran, I actually learned a lot more from that process. So, the best thing for me to do is to not run for office, but to actually influence office. So my ultimate goal is to start my own super PAC once I finish school, and with the money I have from selling the business, I do want to start a super PAC where I can actually write policy and then help people push this policy through that will start to reshape how governments are dealing with certain neighborhoods that are the red line to some degree, wipe that away the best way we can.
So let me ask you, what's your favorite part about being an entrepreneur?
The fact that I can have something in my brain and I just take it and it becomes something that's real. Like literally, like the burger idea, I had it last summer. It was me and my nephew. We were making burgers. And then we were like, I was showing him, I was really trying to teach him how to start a business. Like he wanted to do it. I said, let's go through the steps. So we went through the steps and we tried other burgers and we kept refining it, refining it. We tried to figure out like what type of bun we want to use. Like I showed him that entire process and he learned, and then he got excited about wanting to start a business. And that burger business is actually for him. So I'm building it for him to take it over once he hits 18 years old. So once he finishes high school, it's going to be his company.
And what's your idea of wealth, Dweh?
Wealth for me is mainly having the ability to have an idea or have a want and have it happen for you instantaneously.
I was going to say, give some words of encouragement to the young people out there, Dweh.
If I was speaking to myself when I was younger, I would say, okay, I know you have a great idea, but you really have to make sure that you write it down and look at comparable businesses that are in the space you're trying to enter into, so you don't waste your time, money, effort, and drive. Like, make sure you understand the market you're about to enter into, so that way when you get into that market and you get a buzz, you can handle that buzz and ride it to wherever you're trying to get to.
As you say, Dweh, tell us how can people find out more about what you're doing? The Airbnb, you're on Instagram, or how can people get in touch with you and see all about your burger business?
So if you go to Chef Dweh on Instagram, you'll see both my burgers that you can buy, and also, or if you want something more artistic, you can actually book me for fine dining, which a lot of people have been booking for fine dining.
How do you spell Dweh so people can look at it?
So that's DWEH. That's Chef, CHEF, Dweh, DWEH on Instagram.
All right, and people, don't forget to follow us, Lawsuits and Lessons, and all that good stuff. And John will tell you where to find us on YouTube because I always forget. But he has some really good videos. John has some very good videos, some in different languages. It's pretty cool. Also, you can get in touch with me, the Coop Tank at yahoo.com, and go to coopertalk.net to find over 1,050 episodes of my award-winning podcast, Cooper Talk. John.
Yeah, you can find everything you need to know about me on defendmybiz.com. And the YouTube channel is also Defend My Biz. So I want to say thank you, Dweh. I really appreciate you coming on and blessing us with all of your knowledge and your great story. Steve, thank you so much. You're always such a great host and make everything run. And thank you, everyone that's tuning in. Appreciate you all.